Hi Bowl Bakers! I am not ashamed to admit that in my lifetime I have eaten my fair share of frozen pizzas. Now they are great in a pinch, however there's usually a laundry list of ingredients and they're not always made with the best quality. As Bowl Bakers, we can do better and we can do it 100% from scratch. I am going to show you how you can make a better frozen pizza. So for my frozen pizza, I am using my tried and true no-knead pizza dough. You guys love this pizza dough. It gives you amazing bubbly results and it has loads of flavor. Here in my large bowl, I have flour. Now you can use all-purpose flour, but what I've started using recently in the last few years is bread flour because it does give you a chewier bite to your pizza, but you can use either or. So our next ingredient is our yeast. I'm using instant yeast, which goes directly into our flour, unlike active dried yeast, which has to be sponged. This is much easier. Now you will notice I'm only using a little bit because this is a fermented dough and it will actually develop more yeast as it rests. Next, over on the other side of the bowl, we're going to add in some salt. Salt is really important in pizza crust because it gives lots of lovely flavor. And then with a spatula, just mix all of your dry ingredients together. Now for the wet, in my jug I have some water. This is just slightly warmed water. Yeast loves to be warm, it helps it grow. So into this water I'm going to add in some olive oil. Now I like to add olive oil into my pizza crust because I feel it kind of softens the crust a little bit and makes for more enjoyable eating. Then it's just as simple as adding your wet into your dry. Then go in with a spatula or a wooden spoon and just mix your dough together. So everybody's flour is different all over the world. So if you find your dough is a little bit dry, add a splash or two more water, not too much. What I like to do is go in there with my hands and pull it all together. And what you're going to end up with is this, a dough that forms a ball and then a nice clean bowl. You don't want this dough too wet. So now you have to cover it. You can use cling wrap and a towel. What I like to do is a shower cap because no air can get in once you put that shower cap on. It keeps it nice and snug. So now with my dough, what you do is set it over to the side at room temperature and let it ferment for around 12 to 18 hours. Over this fermenting stage, your dough gets really bubbly, a little bit boozy, develops lots of flavor and lots of lovely bubbles. So after around 18 hours, your dough is going to look like this. You see that? It's lovely and bubbly. It kind of smells a little bit like alcohol, a little bit boozy. That's exactly what it's supposed to smell like. It's fermented. And if you kind of touch the top, you see those lovely bubbles, but pull away the dough there. You see those gluten strands? That is developed by the fermenting. So resting it overnight, giving it all that time, develops a really lovely structure in our pizza crust. So this is ready to go. I'm just gonna flour my surface, turn out my dough, and then with a dough cutter or a sharp knife, just divide it evenly into 4 pieces. Out of this dough, you get 4 pizza crusts, so that's a lot of pizza to have ready in your freezer. Roll each piece of dough into a nice tight ball. Now, it's pretty incredible that we made this pizza crust with 5 simple ingredients. There is not many pizzas that you can go into a supermarket, pick out of the freezer, and there's only 5 ingredients in the pizza crust. So this is already better for you. So once your dough is rolled into balls, we're going to set it over to the side and just cover it. I like to cover it with my bowl. You can cover it with cling wrap and a tea towel. And you just want to let this rest here for around 20 minutes or so. The dough and the gluten needs to relax, which will make it much easier for us to roll in a few minutes. So this is the time when you want to preheat your oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit or 225 degrees Celsius. Also, what you want to do is put a tray on the bottom rack of your oven. You want to get this tray nice and hot because we're going to slide our raw dough onto it and it's going to give us a lovely crispy crust. So our dough is relaxed, now it's time to shape our pizza crust. Now you can roll them all out right now if you'd like to, or you can just do one and pop the rest in the fridge for up to 24 hours. So for the shaping, I like to put a little bit of extra flour on my surface. And then with my hands, I'm just going to pull and shape our dough. So for a long time, I always used a rolling pin to roll out my pizza, which is totally fine. But recently, I've just gotten so much better results if I pull it by hand. So using your fingers, just kind of pull the dough into an even round shape. What you can also do is lay it over your fingers and pull from the inside out. That gives you a nice thin crust and then a thicker edge. Pulling a pizza dough does take some practice, but that's the fun part. So look at this, do you see the way my pizza crust is kind of springing back a little bit? That means that the gluten needs more time to rest. So I'm just gonna lay a tea towel over it, let it relax, and then it'll be much easier to pull. So there you go, you see that, those few minutes makes the dough much easier to work with. Okay, next we're going to put it onto a tray lined with parchment paper. Once you get it onto the tray, shape it again into a nice round. Your pizza will be around 10 inches or so. So this is our dough shaped. Our pizza oven is preheated. Now here's what we want to do to be able to make a frozen pizza. We're going to par bake our crust, which means we're going to bake it at a high temperature for just a few minutes. So it gets nice and cooked. So then later on, when we put on our toppings, it's all ready to go into the oven. Very carefully slide your pizza crust onto your preheated tray. This is where the parchment comes in really handy. Par-bake your crust at 450 degrees Fahrenheit or 225 degrees Celsius for roughly 4 minutes until you can see that it's cooked and lightly browned. So look at that, just a few minutes in the oven, and this is what you're looking for. You can tell it's baked all the way around. It's puffed up really nicely. There's 1 or 2 little brown spots on the top, but not many. We're not trying to get this crust brown on top here. What we're trying to do is, you see this, turn it upside down. We've baked that crust a lightly golden brown. The thing about it is it's going to go back into the oven again, so you don't want to over bake it at this point. These 4 to 5 minutes in the oven will give you exactly what you're looking for. So now the world is your oyster. Top your pizza any way you want. What I'm going to do is use my homemade pizza sauce, because we're making a homemade frozen pizza. It's really simple to make and it's delicious. There's a video for that on YouTube. Then I'm going to put on my cheese and some of my favorite toppings: sausage, pepperoni, and peppers. So now's the important part. We want to pop this into the freezer on the tray, uncovered, for around 20 to 30 minutes. Let it freeze solid, take it out, wrap it up nice and tight in cling wrap, and pop it back into your freezer. Make sure to wrap it all the way around so it doesn't get freezer burn. Now pop it back into the freezer and you have it ready to go for whenever you get a pizza craving. So whenever it's pizza time, take it out of the freezer, unwrap it, and pop the frozen pizza onto a preheated tray. Bake it at 450 degrees Fahrenheit or 220 degrees Celsius for roughly around 12 minutes until your crust is golden brown and your cheese is lovely and melty. And here you go, look at that gorgeous looking pizza. Beautiful brown crust, bubbly topping, absolutely gorgeous. When you lift up a slice, you can see the crust underneath is a lovely crispy golden brown. That's because we did it on the preheated tray. And because of my no knead dough and all the bubbles that had in it, this crust gets lovely and bubbly. You saw me make this incredible homemade pizza from scratch with just a few ingredients. Without a doubt, this is better frozen pizza. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments below what other freezer aisle foods you'd like to see me make from scratch.